What's going on, everyone? Welcome in to the Chiefs Zone podcast. I am Farzin Vasugian. We are here. Big episode tonight as we are going to break down the Chiefs 53-man roster. We now know who the Chiefs will have going into week one. For the most part, there will be a couple of changes coming. And obviously, we got the breaking news today that Rashee Rice will receive a 6-game suspension to begin the 2025 season. I will get into that in just a moment and tell you guys why that is best case scenario for the Chiefs. You knew a suspension was coming, but we kept asking, when is it going to happen? How many games? And I feel this is the best case scenario, and I'll explain why in just a moment. And of course, we now know the 53-man roster as well as the practice squad players for the Kansas City Chiefs, and there will be an adjustment made very soon to that. So there will be a little bit of a change on that very soon. And we know because of the nature of the roster changes and potential surprise cuts around the league, that could lead to some changes around the NFL as well. So just be aware of that. A lot of reactions. The biggest surprise for sure was Mike Pennell getting released. And I should say yesterday, but a lot of people reacting to it today as well. Mike Pennell getting let go by the Kansas City Chiefs. That certainly was a surprise to me and a lot of you guys as well. People wondered if there was a chance Pennell would return. Does not appear to be the case. Pretty surprising there. So we'll touch on that and more here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me tonight on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. This is basically our last podcast before the regular season gets underway. Next week we'll do our game breakdown, but yeah, that'll essentially be the week of the regular season. So, we're getting closer and closer to football season, man. We're getting there. We're 9 days away from that first game for the Chiefs. 8 days for the first NFL game of the season. Yeah, we're in single-digit territory mode now. Now, if your favorite team plays on a Sunday, you got a little bit more time to wait. But hey, nonetheless, it's coming very, very soon. Before we go into the Rashee Rice suspension and the 53-man roster reactions, I want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That is where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs. Had a great weekend. This past weekend, went to the Chiefs preseason game on Friday and went to the new KU Stadium, checking out their newly renovated stadium, and got to attend both of those games thanks to my friends over at SeatGeek. And if you guys want to attend any football action this year, SeatGeek is the place to go. Pick your tickets there, and at checkout, before you purchase your tickets, if you're a new customer, enter my promo code FARZIN, and you will save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets, and at checkout, use my promo code FARZIN if you're a new SeatGeek customer, and you'll save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. All right, let's get into it here. I know we got a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts, a lot of things to react to, so let's get this underway. The big story of the day involving the Kansas City Chiefs, Rashee Rice has received a 6-game suspension to start the NFL season. He will be back in Week 7 when the Chiefs get ready to play host to the Raiders. I would not want to play defense for the Raiders for that game because Rice is going to have a big chip on his shoulder and will want to go. It will have been more than a year by that time Rice will have played a regular season game. So that's going to be a really big deal to him, and everyone's going to want to see Mahomes and Rice get that connection going again. So hopefully we get that. Hopefully we get that trio of Rice, Worthy, and Hollywood together. We only saw it for one snap, and that was in that preseason snap where the first snap of the preseason where Hollywood got hurt. So that's unfortunate, but hopefully that they'll be able to figure that out. With that said, we now know the 6-game suspension for Rice. The report that came out from a lot of insiders, including Adam Teichel, was that that's what the NFL wants to give. Then shortly after that, we got the report, an updated report, that the Chiefs and Rice have gone ahead and accepted the 6-game suspension. And I will explain why this is the best case scenario for the Chiefs. I know a lot of you will disagree and say that it's not the best case scenario because of the specific games he'll miss, the gauntlet of games, especially during the first 4 to 6 weeks, that tough stretch the Chiefs have, and I'll address that in a moment here. Here was my biggest fear with all of this, because this dragged out for a very long time. Yeah, of course, we had to wait for the legal process, and that took quite some time. However, once that was over with, we knew a suspension was coming. We just didn't know when. We heard a lot of reports anywhere between, the NFL wanted anywhere between 8 to 12 games. And Rice and his legal team and the NFLPA, they pushed back and said, we're not going to accept anything more than 4 games. Because sure, while you can criticize the actions here in terms of the NFL ruling on this, there hasn't really been a precedent for this kind of thing before, and there has been some inconsistencies with suspensions handed out in the past. The hearing, which was going to involve Sue Robinson, who was going to hear out this case, that was supposed to take place in week 5. And again, with all the rumors that this could have been a double-digit game suspension, a 10 or 12 game suspension, the biggest concern from my end was, what if in week 5 they did not come to a resolution as to how many games they want to have for the suspension, and they don't end up reducing the number of games, and it ended up being a 12-game suspension? That would have been quite an absence for Rashee Rice. He would not have been available essentially for the second half of the season, or maybe just a couple of games for the second half of the season. Him being available for the second half of the season is what really helps Kansas City here. So instead of going through that hearing process in week 5, which was supposed to happen, the NFL and the NFLPA came to terms on a 6-game suspension, and then Rice and his legal team quickly went ahead and accepted and agreed to that. So he's going to miss the first 6 weeks, which is a very tough 6-game stretch for Kansas City. However, I'm here to tell you Kansas City will be just fine. Let me remind you of something here. How many games did Rashee Rice play last year? 4. Okay, well, technically 4, but really it was 3 games plus 4 snaps in that Chargers game where he got hurt. Despite Rice really only playing 3 games, the first 3 games, didn't play anymore after week 4, Kansas City won 15 games last year. Not only did they win 15 games, they got the number 1 seed locked up with a week to spare in the regular season. They really only lost 1 game last year. I mean, look, let's just be completely honest. And no disrespect to Denver, that week 18 game had 0 relevancy for Kansas City. There's a reason why they started a lot of their backups in that game, and the starters who did play hardly ever played. You only saw a couple of starters that played that game from start to finish. So really, the Chiefs, despite having Rice for just a couple of games, they only lost 1 game without him last year in the regular season. So they won 15 games. They got the 1 seed with a week to spare in the regular season, and they reached the Super Bowl. And listen, I know a lot of people talk about the way Kansas City won games and the luck and the refs and all these things. You don't reach the Super Bowl with luck or the refs or any of that. I don't care what anyone says. The fact that they were able to make it during a very injury-riddled season and doing it without a wide receiver in Rice, who was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL the first 3 weeks before his injury. I know that's a small window, but I mean, listen, Rice did not show any indication that he was slowing down. That dude was going full speed the entire regular season. No one on defense had an answer for him. Unfortunately, he had that injury, and that sidelined him for the remainder of the season. So, despite not having Rice for those first 6 games, which, by the way, is a gauntlet of games, no question about it, you're starting the season against a division rival that's trying their best to dethrone you in the AFC West, and the Chargers in a neutral site playing stadium in Brazil. Then you've got a Super Bowl rematch against the Eagles. You've got the Giants. Okay, I don't think anyone's really losing sleep over that game specifically, but listen, you can never take anyone lightly in the NFL, I suppose. Then in week 4, you have Baltimore. Week 6, Jacksonville. Okay, not to really disrespect them, but I don't think that's a game that a lot of people think that Rice's absence will really hurt them. And then you have another Sunday night football game against Detroit, which Rice will not be available for. Yeah, to not have him against the Chargers, Eagles, Ravens, and Lions, that's going to be tough. But he was unavailable for a lot of other games last year. And listen, Kansas City, they have not been getting through these last several years with a cupcake schedule. They're not going out there playing worms. First of all, they always have a first place schedule because this team has won the AFC West 9 years in a row. So when you're winning the division, you always play. So when it comes to your division, you play almost the same teams with the exception of 3 or 4 teams. And that's all determined by where you place in the division. So Kansas City being first place 9 years in a row, they've always played other first place teams. And if you feel like the regular season was too easy, well, again, Kansas City has reached the AFC Championship game at the minimum with Patrick Mahomes, which again, that's no easy feat, and that's not something that just comes with luck or any of that stuff. So Kansas City has proven time and time again, even with all the obstacles they've come across over the years, especially last year with all of the injuries, they've still been able to go out there and win football games. When you just look at the win-loss record, sure, the offense certainly is not what it was in 2022 or before that. And I trust that they've got it figured out and they'll bounce back this year. But I digress. The point I'm trying to make here is they'll be just fine without Rice for 6 games. They won 15 games without him last year. They reached the Super Bowl without him. Now, let me just be clear. I'm not suggesting that the Chiefs don't need Rice. Not at all. In fact, that's the complete opposite. They do need him. They absolutely need him, in addition to having a reliable offensive line. What I'm saying is they can manage for 6 games, almost a third of the season, without Rice. You knew a suspension was coming. That it was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when and how many. And now you've got your answer to both of those. Yeah, it's not ideal to have them unavailable against the Chargers, the Eagles, the Ravens, and Detroit. Those are 4 very tough games. But I'd rather have Rice be available in the second half of the season, because if the suspension, if they went ahead with that hearing going into week 5, and let's just say worst case scenario, they did not come to terms on reducing the number of games for the suspension, and it ended up being a 10 or 12 game, like some reports indicated during training camp, yeah, then Rice would have probably missed the majority of the second half of the season, and that would not have been good news for Kansas City. But instead, the 3 big takeaways on this one here is he will be available for the second half of the season, provided that he stays healthy, hopefully. And that's big. Having him already back by the midway point of the season, that's going to be big. And again, he'll be back for week 7. That is when the Chiefs play the Raiders at home. So when Rice comes back, they play the Raiders, they play the Commanders, and they've got a big game on the road with Buffalo. And after that, there's a bye week. That actually leads me to my next point. He's going to be available for that big week 9 game against Buffalo. We know how this Chiefs-Bills rivalry has gone over the years. And we know that even though Buffalo has beat Kansas City many times and it hasn't really made a difference in terms of the standings, that's not something you can rely on every year. So having Rice available for that game is massive, because that could be a game that that will have huge implications for the number 1 seed, or at the very least, if neither team gets the 1 seed, this could maybe be the difference maker as to who finishes ahead of the other in the standings for the playoffs. And on top of that, Rice is going to be available for 5 of the 6 divisional rival games. He'll be available for both Raiders games. He'll be available for both Broncos games. And he'll be available when the Chiefs play host to the Chargers in week 15. And listen, I know a lot of times when we look at strength of schedule and all this stuff right now, A lot of it is kind of based on last year. Some of it also based on projection, as some teams we expect them to be better than last year. But I'm just looking at some of the teams that the Chiefs are playing once Rice gets back. Okay, you play the Raiders. I expect a little bit of improvement from the Raiders, but they're still going to be the Raiders at the end of the day. Their offensive line is terrible. Commanders, Bills, yeah, having them back for those 2 games in late October, early November, that's huge. Then you got the bye week. Then you play Denver. And then look at these next few games here. You've got the Colts at home. A lot of people are expecting almost nothing from the Colts. You've got Dallas, a team that I truly don't know what they're going to look like. I think that's a team that has far more question marks than answers. You play Houston. They've made the playoffs the last couple of years, both years since CJ Stroud has been there. You've got the Chargers, a team that's shown a little bit of improvement lately. Then you've got the Titans. Then the Broncos again. Then you finish the regular season against the Raiders. That's not a terrible schedule to have. You can win a majority of those games with Rice coming back. And hopefully Hollywood Brown stays healthy. I know that's a big if, but the reason the Chiefs brought him back is because of his potential and how well his skill set bodes in this offensive scheme, especially with Patrick Mahomes throwing you the football. You've obviously got Xavier Worthy. You have Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, who's expected to take another step forward this year. A lot of people are excited to see Jalen Royals, the rookie who the Chiefs drafted this year, what he's going to do. Tyquan Thornton has been getting a lot of hype as well. So you know the Chiefs are going to be just fine with the receiving group that they have in the meantime without Rice. So they'll be just fine. And once Rice gets back, it's going to give the offense a nice little boost. Now, sure, he is 100%. We saw that in training camp. We saw that in the preseason. But coming off that knee injury, it doesn't hurt to get another 6-game break there, I suppose, because, again, just the nature of things. You knew that a suspension was coming. So at the end of the day, this all works out for Kansas City. The worst thing here, he's not going to be available for those tough games in the first 6 weeks. And I'm okay with that because the Chiefs proved that they can win 15 games, that they won 15 games, I should say, last year when it was an injury-riddled season. And again, there was nothing easy about last year for the Chiefs. Hollywood Brown was lost for the majority of the season. Rice was lost for the majority of the season. Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, your running back number 2 on the team. And they still managed to win 15 games. So I'm not sweating this like some people are on social media. I still think at the end of the day, what he did was wrong and he's got to suffer the consequences for it. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, once the suspension is over with, he's going to come back, put it in the rearview mirror, no pun intended, and you can put this behind you. Focus on football from here on out. Lesson learned. And he talked about the lesson that, there aren't a lot of opportunities to play on a team that has someone like Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, someone that has Andy Reid as their coach, and so many other great guys on the coaching staff and on the team. He doesn't have a lot of those kinds of opportunities anywhere else. So he learned that lesson, according to Rice himself. Lesson learned, move forward. And that is where we move forward to the 53-man roster. The initial 53-man roster, and I say an initial 53-man roster because these things do change more times than not within 24 to 48 hours. Let's just go over what the Chiefs started with here. I know it's already changing because Rice is on suspension now. Quarterback Mahomes, Minshew, no surprise about it. And I'll get into the practice squad in a moment here because the Chiefs did select a different practice squad quarterback to enter the season this year compared to last year. Running backs, they're going with Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, and Rashard Smith, as I predicted in my 53-man prediction on Saturday. Tight ends, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley. I did have Robert Tonyan on here. He's not on the team. He's on the practice squad. But the reports are, with Rice now suspended, the Chiefs only have 52 players on their active roster. So someone's got to be brought up, and I would imagine it is going to be Robert Tonyan very soon. The Chiefs did start with 8 wide receivers. I wrote a post this morning about this. The 2 big reasons that I thought they had 8, one of them was because of a potential Rice suspension, which obviously we learned about today. The second reason, I think the Chiefs really liked Jason Brownlee to the point where they felt like if he was waived and they attempted to bring him back on the practice squad or hoped that he would go through that process and clear it, they just felt like it would not happen that way. They felt like someone else would have claimed Jason Brownlee. I think it's more to do with the Rice suspension now that we know about that. But nonetheless, that's why you had 8 receivers to start off. Now it's 7 already with Rice placed on IR. Offensive linemen, they have 9 of them. Your starters, Simmons, Suamataia, Humphrey, Smith, and Jawan Taylor. And then for the backups, you have Wanye Morris, Mike Caliendo, Hunter Norzad, and Jalen Moore. Obviously, Jalen Moore is the key backup here on the team and probably someone that's going to play a lot this season. The one guy who they cut was CJ Hansen, who the Chiefs drafted last year in the 7th round. He is back on Kansas City's practice squad. By the way, to go over the wide receivers, it was Rice, Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Nico Remigio, Jalen Royals, Tyquan Thornton, and Jason Brownlee. I forgot to list the names there. So no surprises really on offense. The only thing I got incorrect, or 2 things I got incorrect, was Robert Tonyan, which is supposed to happen very soon, and CJ Hansen. All right, let's go to the defense. This is the one that surprised a lot of people here. Defensive ends, Karlaftis, Omenahu, Malik Herring, Mike Dana, Ashton Gelati, the rookie who the Chiefs drafted in the 3rd round out of Louisville. And then for the interior defensive linemen, obviously Chris Jones. They traded for Derek Nottie, bringing him back. Jerry Tillery, former Viking, former Raider, and also rookie Omar Norman-Lott, who I had a chance to meet and interview yesterday. You'll hear from him, not on tonight's podcast, but you'll hear from him tomorrow. I'll put some clips out there on my social media. But no Mike Pennell. This one shocked a lot of people. The Chiefs, before announcing the full 53-man roster, they announced who they waived and who they released. This was not a waiver wire situation here for Pennell. This is not a waiver wire cut. This was just a straight up release. Mike Pennell, on the Chiefs website, they announced he was let go. That was my biggest instant reaction. I was quick to point this out on social media. That was a very big surprise. Why did the Chiefs go this route? Well, they're bringing back Derek Nottie, who's, I think an underrated run-stopping defensive player. He's obviously younger at 29 years old. Whereas you look at Mike Pennell, he turned 34 this offseason. But I feel like Mike Pennell truly is one of the more underrated defensive linemen in the NFL. I mean, listen, he's not a Chris Jones. He's not an Ndamukong Suh. He's not Aaron Donald. He's not that kind of football player. But I feel like Mike Pennell, when it comes to stopping the run, that is where he helps this Chiefs defense the most. If you look through his career, his first stint with the Chiefs, he joined the Chiefs in October of 2019. And then they also had a Terrell Suggs that same year during the season. And he played a really big hand in helping the Chiefs reach Super Bowl 54 and eventually winning it. Especially some of those run-stopping hits from Pennell. That's where he really helped the Chiefs the most. Then Pennell left the Chiefs, went around Chicago, Atlanta, went back to Chicago again. Then he returned to Kansas City in October of 2023. And guess what? Same exact thing. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl that year against the same team, the 49ers. Pennell re-signed with the Chiefs back in March on a 1-year deal in 2024. And obviously stuck with the team last year, was a key part of their defense. Keep in mind, this Chiefs defense has not allowed a 100-yard rusher from any running back in 26 straight games, and Pennell's been a part of that. He re-signed with the Chiefs in March of this past year also, and surprisingly, he was released I don't really know the reason for this, other than maybe the age difference between him and Nadi. The Nadi trade surprised me. I thought Nadi was a good run-stopping defender, but not to the point that you felt like you needed to trade him back. And I mentioned this already. Essentially, what you did through two other teams is you traded Sky Moore for Derek Nadi. And I thought Jerry Tillery was going to be the casualty in this. It ended up being Mike Pennell. I don't understand this one. And in fact, I'll tell you right now, I disagree with it. But I'm not here to doubt Brett Veach and Andy. As much as I disagree with the move, I'm not here to, rip them apart and doubt them at this point. Listen, Brett Veach, if there was ever a time where Brett Veach earned your trust, it should have been when he traded Tyreek Hill and built a roster good enough for the Chiefs to reach the Super Bowl every single year without him. Sure, they got blown out in the last one in the three-peat attempt, but didn't they win back-to-back without Tyreek Hill? Like, the narrative was that how are the Chiefs going to even survive without Tyreek Hill? And it turned into, how are they doing all of this without Tyreek Hill? If Brett Veach, I mean, if anything, we should not be doubting Veach. And I'm seeing some of that online right now. So, listen, I don't know where people get the idea to constantly doubt, in my opinion, the best general manager in all of football. And a lot of people will say, Howie Roseman, okay, did Howie Roseman ever trade a dynamic player on the Eagles for an overhaul of draft picks and put together a great offense or a great defense? Brett Veach did that. And despite so many issues with injuries and players dropping passes, he's always worked hard to try to bring in players to help improve, even during the season. We saw the Chiefs in 2019, the signings they made during the season. I mentioned Mike Pennell and Terrell Suggs. Don't forget about Steven Wisniewski. He quickly turned into a starting guard for the Chiefs in 2019. So the Chiefs will always be vigilant and just be aware of who's available during the season, trying to bring them in to help the football team. So, in my opinion, that's why Veach is the best GM in football right now. They've been to 3 straight Super Bowls, and that's no accident. Yes, Patrick Mahomes deserves a lot of credit, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, but Brett Veach has to be mentioned on that list as well. You don't have this kind of success without Brett Veach. Not at all. So the defensive line there, bit of a surprise, but that's just where the Chiefs are going. And as much as I disagree with it, I don't think we're really in any position to doubt this team, this coaching staff and this front office, which, number one, they're doing the evaluations, not us. And on top of that, this is a team that's gone to 3 straight Super Bowls and 7 straight AFC title games. Yeah, I'm not ready to doubt these guys at the moment. Linebackers, pretty straightforward here. No surprises. Bolton, Chenal, Tranquil, Bossa, Cooper McDonald, and Jack Cochran. I'm sure McDonald and Cochran are going to be a big part of special teams. Cornerbacks, you have Jalen Watson, Noel Williams, Christian Fulton, Trent McDuffie, and Joshua Williams. For safeties, you have Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook. Now, 2 names I have not mentioned yet is Christian Roland Wallace and Shamari Connor. They're both on the team. Shamari Connor is listed as a safety on Our Lad's depth chart, and Christian Roland Wallace is listed as a cornerback. But there's a lot of talk about Christian Roland Wallace possibly converting to safety. So that's just something to be aware of. I know the Chiefs have not. Andy Reid spoke yesterday, but that was before the roster cutdowns were all announced. And we haven't had a chance to hear from Andy Reid since then. I'm sure he'll be asked about the Christian Roland Wallace situation. I'm sure he'll be asked about the engagement as well for Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. But that's going to be interesting because the Chiefs only have 3 safeties on the roster, unless the rumors are true that Christian Roland Wallace is converting to safety, which I think is going to be an interesting. I don't really have a reason to feel good about that or feel bad about that. That's one of those where, okay, let's wait and see how that looks in a game. And then your specialists, pretty straightforward. You have Harrison Butker, your kicker, Matt Araiza, your punter, and your long snapper is James Winchester. So that is your Chiefs 53-man roster. Obviously, Rice is suspended, so they're now at 52. The expectation is that you will see Robert Tonyan come in and become the 53rd player on the team. As far as other players on the practice squad, let me see if I can pull that up because Our Lads does not have that up to date. Let's see. I thought I saw it on the Chiefs website. I guess not. Let me just quickly go through the team and then okay, there's a team roster. There we go. There's a practice squad. So you have. Well, let me just first start off who's on IR because that's important. We knew FAU's on there. Jake Browning, Sewell, the tight end. Dion Bush, we knew about already. Brandon George, the linebacker. Nazi Johnson, who's listed as a safety on the Chiefs website. That's interesting. And defensive end Janarius Robinson. And then on the reserve / non-football illness, you have Ethan Driscoll, the offensive tackle, who's on there. And then practice squad, you have Cole Christensen, Mike Edwards, who was a surprise cut. And I was surprised he cleared waiver wires. Chuck Godric, CJ Hansen, I mentioned earlier, Kozia Izzard, Kevin Knowles, who looked good on special teams in the last preseason game against Chicago. Chris Odokin, your practice squad quarterback. The Chiefs have 2 wide receivers. Hal Presley is one of them, and the other one is Jimmy Holiday, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see him listed on here, but I saw that in a report earlier, unless he's been claimed already. Melvin Smith Jr., Carson Steele, Robert Tanyan, Marlon Tupiloto, Trey Watson. A big surprise. The Chiefs have reunited with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on Kansas City's practice squad. He was let go by the Saints, and now he is back in Kansas City on the practice squad. Obviously, and I'm seeing a lot of people panic over that. Oh, really? We're dealing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire again? Okay, relax. Relax, people. If you look at the depth chart right now, you have Pacheco as your number 1. I would assume Pacheco's number 1. Hunt's number 2. Mitchell's 3. And Brashard Smith is 4. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not on the main roster. He's on the practice squad. So look at it this way. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is your 5th string running back. He's not a starter. He's not the main backup. He's literally the number 5 running back on the team. So let's take a deep breath. This is not anything to lose sleep over here. He's a guy that's familiar with the offense, and God forbid you have the injury bug run around with the running back room. Clyde Edwards-Helaire would then be your featured running back, but I don't anticipate that to happen. So that is your practice squad roster for the time being for the Chiefs. And again, we know that can probably change within the next week right before the regular season kicks off. I do want to touch on one other team and just one roster move they made here. The 49ers might be in trouble, folks. Their wide receiver room is banged up, hence why they traded Sky Moore, who is expected to be one of their starting wide receivers in week 1. So the 49ers, Brock Purdy, he's going to have Sky Moore as one of his wide receivers, starting wide receivers. Guess who is expected to be the other starting wide receiver? Marquez Valdes-Scantling. The 49ers are going to go into the regular season with Sky Moore and Marquez Valdes-Scantling as their starting wide receivers. Good luck. You thought last year was a tough year for the 49ers? Wait for this year. Oh, boy. Listen, as a Chiefs fan, I hope the Chiefs play the 49ers in the Super Bowl. Well, if the 49ers make the Super Bowl with Sky Moore and MVS, that would actually be impressive. But can we get an air horn? No, we can't give an air horn for MVS and Sky Moore. Come on, Joshua, you're better than that. You know better. This is the only air horn you're getting. You're getting a trombone, not an air horn. That is your Oof. Now listen, I will say this to MVS's credit. He actually kicked some ass when he was with the Saints. I don't know where the hell that came from, because he was with the Bills originally, and then I don't know, he just wasn't used much. Anthony says they have Sky Moore, MVS, and Demarcus Robinson. Well, Demarcus Robinson is going to be suspended to start the year, but yeah, boy, they've got some guys who have either Super Bowl 54 or Super Bowl 58 rings. Did Demarcus Robinson ever play with Sky Moore and MVS? I don't think he did. I think he was already off the team by then. Yeah, he was already off the team, because didn't Robinson go to the Raiders like really for a short period of time? Because that was the same year they traded Tyreek Hill. Robinson signed with the Raiders. They drafted Sky Moore. They signed MVS right after the Tyreek Hill trade. So no, they never played together. Robinson with Sky and MVS. Yeah, he went to the Rams for a little bit as well. He actually looked really good for the Rams. I was surprised they didn't keep him. Might as well sign Watson too. Is he available? Did Justin Watson get cut by the Texans? No, he's on the Texans. He's on the Texans. Okay. I was about to say, man, because I will say, from some of the analysts I've heard in the national media, there were some surprises that MVS was cut. So that was a surprise to me. All right, I didn't have a chance to go over some comments here, so let me address any questions. A lot of people are asking if Mike Pennell will be added back. Probably not. I will say this. I forgot to say this. I did see one theory on social media. Someone on Twitter told me they're probably going to use him similarly to how they've used him in the past, where they brought him back mid-season. They've done that twice with him. Could they do it for a third time, I suppose? I don't think he would like that. Pennell, that is, but because, Pennell's 34 years old, and this might be the last year of football he plays, one of his last years. So he wants to get a paycheck every single season, but that's just the way it all goes sometimes, man. It's a brutal business. It really is. Chris says, I'd rather get the suspension done with now. I'm glad it worked out this way. Helps us in the wrong way. I agree. That's where I stand on the whole thing. Mary thinks they'll get a 1 or a 2 seed. Yeah, I think so. I appreciate you, Rob. Anthony says the wide receivers the Chiefs have are more than enough to win. Last year, the inconsistency from the offensive line was a bigger issue, more than the wide receivers getting hurt. That's the thing. You didn't see a lot of drops last year. It was not like the year before. Now, we saw a few drops in that last preseason game. Kareem Hunt dropped one in the end zone. Travis Kelce dropped one in the game. There was another one. I can't remember from who. So the way I kind of look at it right now with the Chiefs, and I've said this before about Patrick Mahomes, as long as Patrick Mahomes has the pass blocking, he can win with just about anyone. Now, if your main receivers are Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, you might be in deep trouble. But that's not who the Chiefs have right now. They've got a lot of reliable players at the wide receiver position. And I think that's a big reason why they brought Hollywood Brown back. And listen, my optimism with Hollywood Brown, if Hollywood Brown was expected to carry the wide receiver room, I'd be concerned. I'd be like, okay, he might get tired to the ground here. But Hollywood Brown is part of a crowded wide receiver room. To your point, Anthony, it's not just going to be Hollywood Brown who gets relied on. You can rely on Xavier Worthy. You can rely on Jalen Royals, Tyquan Thornton. And here's the nice thing about Tyquan Thornton. He was not on the main roster last year, but he was on the practice squad. So he already had some familiarity with the Chiefs offense while practicing with them last year. Now, Thornton is in a position where he's gone through OTAs, and he got some attention to OTAs and in training camp. And, of course, he had that 58-yard bomb with Mahomes in the preseason game against Chicago. So you're hoping they carry that over to the regular season. So I'm excited to see what the NFL or what the Chiefs do with that. Blake says the league needs to learn to be consistent with their discipline. The inconsistencies is tiresome. I do agree. Some of the consequences just don't match up sometimes. And I think that's on the NFL. It's also on the NFLPA. I think they deserve some of the blame as well. Yeah, Tommy. I don't know the intention with Mike Pennell. I don't think Mike Pennell will be a free agent for too long. I mean, there have been some insiders, like I saw who's the guy, Jordan from Fox Sports. I forgot his name, but the guy who got into a fight with Ian Rappaport, Jordan Schultz. I said a different name. Jordan Schultz. He said that Pennell is a veteran, a reliable veteran that should get some interest from other teams. I don't think Pennell's staying as a free agent for too long. Argument in our house is about Pacheco. I say he doesn't show up this year. He's gone. Wife says no. We know the rumor that the Chiefs wanted a running back. Pacheco looked good in that preseason game against Chicago. Had a scary moment where he crashed into that wall and almost destroyed a trash can. But man, I feel like the Chiefs. I don't think they have they don't have a Priest Holmes or a Larry Johnson, Christian Okoye type of running back. No, but I think they have the running back to succeed this year. I do think it's going to be running back by committee. I do. The front office was prepared for this. Trust a little. We had way worse last year. Yeah, last year was a tough year. And I know Alex Smith made a comment last year on ESPN Countdown. He said that he said that Patrick Mahomes was doing more with less. I don't agree that he was doing more per se. But once DeAndre Hopkins joined the Chiefs, Patrick's interception numbers almost went away completely. Like, he threw far fewer interceptions as the season went on. I do agree that he was making a lot of things happen with less. I wouldn't say more with less. I would say he was getting the Chiefs to survive with almost damn near nothing. Your top two wide receivers gone. Top two running backs not available. Your two left tackles, garbage. I mean, that's what Patrick Mahomes had to work with. Yeah, Blake, the problem is the NFL has always been inconsistent with these kinds of things. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Tyquan Thornton and a healthy Hollywood Brown will be a big help. I agree, Chris. And listen, I mentioned this many times. In Super Bowl 57, leading up to that game, the press conference, Travis Kelce was asked, how do you get open all the time? He goes, Andy Reid, baby. Andy Reid is going to get Hollywood Brown open. He's going to get Xavier Worthy open. He's going to get Jalen Royals and Tyquan Thornton open. Like, there's way too much speed on this offense here. And I really would love to be a fly on the wall and just follow a defensive coordinator for one day just to see, like, how are they preparing for the Chiefs? What is the thought process preparing for a team that has this much speed on their team? Because that can't be easy. There's no way any coaching staff will be able to fully prepare and just be able to give their players the necessary tools they need. I mean, I'm expecting a lot from Kansas City's offense this year, specifically the wide receivers. I think it's going to be. I'm curious to see how Mentor, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, I'm curious to see how he's preparing for this team in 9 days in Brazil. Let's read a few more here, and we'll sign up for the night. How many divisional games are we without Rice? Does it matter? I mean, listen, it does matter. First of all, the AFC West. If you took all four divisions in the AFC and combined their records, the AFC West had the best record. And no, it's not just because the Chiefs won 15 games. It's also because the Chargers and the Broncos made the playoffs. The Chiefs are no longer in a pushover division. I mean, this is a division that, and I think Denver, more than Chiefs fans would like to acknowledge, Denver is on Kansas City's tail. I think there's a small gap between Denver and Kansas City. I think the Chiefs can win about 14, 13 games. And I think Denver is capable of winning double-digit games. I don't think they're too far behind Kansas City in the division. What do you think the Chiefs' record will be after those 6 games? Let's go over it. Chargers, I'm giving that a win. Eagles, I hate to say it, I do think they start the home season, the home portion of the season with a loss. I think that's possible. Giants, they'll win. Ravens, that's going to be a very tough one. I think they win that one. Jaguars, they'll win. Detroit, that's another tough one right there. I think the Eagles and the Lions, those are the 2 toughest games. I was thinking to myself this morning when the suspension was announced, if the Chiefs can go 4-2 without Rice, call that a win, man. I will take that one every single time. They can go 4-2 at the minimum. Because after that, you got the Raiders. Then you got the Commanders and the Bills. 2 very tough games back to back. And that is a Monday night game against Washington. So that gives you a little bit of time to prepare for Buffalo. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world because you're at least at home following the Monday night game. But man, after Buffalo, you have the bye week in the second week of November. And then you've got a schedule that overall, I would not expect it to be a very difficult schedule in November and December. And then whenever that January game against the Raiders is going to be. That, man, I'm confident the Chiefs can win 13 or 14 games. I've seen a couple people in the national media say 15 games. I think that might be a little much. But if they can go 4-2, I'm going to go 5-1. I think the only loss will be the Eagles or the Lions, one of those 2. But if they go 4-2 at the minimum, boy, that's a pretty scary setup there for the Chiefs. You already have speed on this offense without Rice. You bring him back, it's just even better. Made 0 sense. Would have rather had Damian Williams from C or I don't know. Blake, I'm sorry. I think you got autocorrect. I got you on that one. Yeah, hopefully that loss is not the Eagles. Would like to at least avenge that one. I mean, not that, we're not going to flex a regular season win over a Super Bowl win, but be nice to at least make a statement in that one. I mean, come on. Like if the Chiefs start the season 5-0 and lose that Detroit game, because now just to be clear, the Chiefs play the NFC East, not the NFC North. The only NFC North opponent they have is Detroit. I would rather lose the Detroit game because the other AFC West opponents, they're playing other NFC East teams. So in the event of any kind of tiebreaker, and it could come down to games against common opponents, which would include NFC East teams. Because see, if you lose to Detroit, that might be the most harmless loss in terms of tiebreaker implications. I'd rather lose the Detroit game than the Eagles game. Both from a statistical standpoint and also from, an emotional standpoint because of the Super Bowl. But more so for the statistical reasons. Okay, I did not get into this one. I forgot to mention the Jets, and I appreciate the reminder there, Paul. The Jets did claim 2 players from the Chiefs, Asa Poli and Cam Jones, the linebacker. A lot of people were surprised about Poli. I personally, I didn't really know how to feel about that one, but a lot of people felt strongly about him. They felt like he looked good as an undrafted player. I'm guessing the Chiefs really wanted him back, but maybe they didn't expect other teams to have an eye on him. I mean, the Jets, he went to the Jets. How far are they on the waiver wire? Pretty high, I would assume, right? So if he didn't go to the Jets, he was going to get picked up by someone else. What player most benefits from Rice being out? I really want to say Jalen Royals, but at the moment he's not practicing because of knee tendonitis. So I'd be willing to say Tyquan Thornton right now. I think that's someone who might be able to get more playing time in these first 6 weeks. And that's someone I want to see get more playing time. Obviously not through this matter, but again, that's just the way it all played out. A lot more comments about Pennell, people being bummed about all of that, which is understandable. How much weight have I lost? 45 pounds. It's funny, whenever I post a picture, like if I'm at a game or the picture I took with Omar Norman Lott, I was at a Comic-Con event and I met Johnny Young Bosch, who I've always wanted to meet. He was one of the Black Power Rangers from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. He was also born here in Kansas City. But whenever I post it, I've been posting pictures of myself recently. People just comment, they're like, dude, you've lost weight. Let me show you guys something. Because I do take pictures. I do take a selfie just standing up against the wall every single day. And I will release it eventually. I'm going to show you guys the day-to-day transformation here. Let me see. Look at this. Let me fix that. There we go. Yeah, this is the side-by-side here. Look at this. Look at that fat ass on the left. Yeah, that's what 45 pounds gone looks like. You guys want to hear a funny story? I was coming back from Vegas. I think it was the 4th of July weekend. Yeah, 4th of July weekend. And I'm going through TSA. You give them your ID. They put it through their little machine, and your picture from your ID pops up on the screen, and then they take a picture of you, and you get to go. And as soon as I passed, I turned around just to wait for my brother. And when I turned around for 2 seconds, I saw the side-by-side picture of the picture of me from my ID and the picture they just took of me. And I went, whoa. Because I was just, I had not seen many pictures of myself at the time, old pictures. And that was like one of the very first times I saw a side-by-side of myself from a while ago to now. And I noticed a big difference in my face. And let me say this, saying whoa in TSA is not a good thing to do. So I did kind of freak out a couple of people. People were like, whoa, what? I'm like, nothing. I'm not a fat ass anymore. So that was a nice little moment there to be able to see that nice little transformation for sure. Do I think Brownlee makes the team at some point? He's on the team right now, but the better question would be when Rice comes back. And listen, we're assuming that everyone stays healthy. That's a big if for a 6 week window. Who's the odd man out? I think Brownlee would end up getting let go, and the hope would be to bring him back on the practice squad. Yeah, Pacheco, I would imagine, is your number one running back. Hunt didn't do what was needed in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, not Lamar Hunt. Clark Hunt or Kareem Hunt? I mean, if you're saying Kareem Hunt, I mean, the entire team was, well, the entire offense was bad. The defense wasn't great, but the defense did enough. Like the pick six, I mean, that's a score that happened when the offense was on the field. And then the second reception home through, I mean, he already backed up against the end zone there. Do they think Elijah Mitchell will continue to improve? He doesn't look like anything right now. He had some flashes in training camp. Let me just say this about training camp. The running backs did not look great as a whole. And I think that's more because the Chiefs have a good run-stopping defense. I mean, anytime you saw the running backs out there, they were met by the linebackers more times than not. Elijah Mitchell had some big runs in training camp. During 11 on 11 situations, because there was a portion of 11 on 11 where they just focused on running the ball, which, you know, it's kind of easy for the defense because they're expecting the run. I remember there was one moment where the Chiefs just kind of tricked them with a play action, but that's a pretty easy drill for the defense when they're expecting the run, because it's the portion of practice where they're practicing against the run. So, I mean, listen, the entire offense has to take responsibility for that. Yeah, a lot of you guys will be happy with 4-2 at the minimum. Okay, Joshua says Giants trap game. I hear this term used a lot. What's a trap game? I think I can fairly say, for everyone's opinion, a trap game is when a team that's really, really good, like the Chiefs, they're preparing for a team that's really, really bad, like the Giants. And people think that the Giants would be underestimated in a situation like that. Listen, the Chiefs just don't cover the spread often. They just don't. So that's just something to be aware of. I think at the end of the day, isn't every single game a trap game? I mean, maybe not against Philly or Detroit or the Commanders or the Bills, but it just feels like every other game is a trap game. Is it not for Kansas City? I just feel like that's where we've reached with this football team. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. The first part of the schedule is rough, but if they can get through that with a 4-2 record at the minimum, full speed ahead, man. Full speed ahead after that. Listen, here's what I've always told people about my weight loss, because people always ask, what are you doing? What's the secret? I don't have a secret. The secret is get off my lazy ass and do it. Exercise, eat right. I try to end the day with exercising. That helps a lot. I know some people will end their day with eating, and that can kind of have an impact. And listen, I've had people ask me, what's your definition of eating right? I don't really know if I need to describe that. I mean, listen, you guys know the difference between eating right and not. Listen, I'll let you know right now. My brother and I, we were at Chicken and Pickle last night in North Kansas City. I had a burger. I had a little bit of beer as well. Had some tater tots. My weight did not go up. Now, if I have that consistently, like every single day, yeah, I'm in trouble. All the weight that I've lost, I'm going to gain it all back. That's why they call them cheat days, right? I hate that term, but that's what they call it. I've just learned, especially since I've spent the last 4.5 months losing all this weight, you know, I'll probably have my cheat days, you know, for Chiefs games, like a Saturday and a Sunday. Well, back-to-back days might not be too smart, but at the very least, like I'll definitely do like Sunday as my main cheat day. I'll have, you know, pizza or burger or barbecue, whatever, during a Chiefs game and whatnot. McDuffie deal coming next week. The Chiefs, what did they do last year? The Chiefs, they got Creed Humphrey right at the end of the preseason, and they extended, who was it? Noah Gray right before the regular season. So it would be a very interesting time to do that for sure. If you're going to do an extension, now is kind of the best time to do it with no games happening this weekend. I don't know what the plan is for Brazil. That's a good question. If you recall the Germany game, didn't the Chiefs go about 2.5 days before the game? whereas the Dolphins were already there like the Monday of, and people thought that was going to be a big difference. For my health, I hope the Chiefs will blow out more teams this year. I hope they do it for the sake of being able to cover the spread. I know my bank account would like that. All right, guys. I answered some questions here. Was not expecting to do that, but I figured, hey, why not? Let's answer some questions. Reminder, the Red Friday Q&A live chat, that will take place this Red Friday. We're going to do that at 4 p.m. Central Time. Also, I think we're going to come out with a consistent schedule for the upcoming season. We will have a podcast on Monday nights, Wednesday nights, and then we'll have the Q&A live chat Wednesday, late afternoon, early evening, somewhere around there. I'll have the official time come out very soon, so be on the lookout for that. And then we'll also have a podcast whenever there's breaking news. And then, of course, the day of the game, we'll have our pregame live chat 4 hours before every game. We'll have the halftime live stream like we will every single game. And then we will have the post-game podcast as soon as the Chiefs, their game comes to an end. Real quickly, before we wrap up here, I just want to give you guys a big thank you here, because the social media has just been off the chains here. I want to do something real quickly. I don't do this often, but just to be sure here, and I'll do it up until Wednesday. Yeah. So in the last 37 days, basically since training camp started, the number of views we've had on our social media, specifically Facebook, has just been off the charts. It's been off the charts everywhere, but obviously Facebook, that's the one where I have the majority of my followers there. We've had more than 45 million views since training camp started. More than 6,000 new followers. Usually when this happens, it's because you guys are commenting. It's because you guys are liking the post. It's because you guys are sharing the content. When you do those things, that helps out the podcast and the social media out greatly, because that's how we get connected with the algorithm. We have a great relationship with the algorithm, and that allows other people that aren't following me or the podcast to be able to discover us. So when you guys do things like that, that helps a shit ton. We had 10,000 new followers last off season. So from the Super Bowl all the way to the very first game, we've had 12,000 this year. So that's massive. When you guys do things like that, that helps. I always say I have a lot of fun doing the podcast and the content, win or lose, and that's really because of you guys. If the Chiefs win, hey, let's celebrate and let's talk about it together. If the Chiefs lose, let's complain about it together. I have fun talking to you guys, win or lose. So big shout outs to you guys. Yeah, let's do it. Air horns for you guys. Hell yeah. So big thank you to all of you. And I'm seeing more and more people commenting from YouTube. That's encouraging. Huge thank you to all of you who are watching wherever, but YouTube especially, because that's the one that's fairly new for me, and I'm trying to grow that. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@thechiefzone. I might as well just type that in the chat. That way those on Facebook can subscribe as well. There we go. There, I just commented with the YouTube link. It goes to YouTube also, so for those who are on YouTube, disregard. But nonetheless, share it with a friend. If you know someone that loves listening to Chiefs content online and they're not subscribed to the Chiefs Zone, hey, share it with them. Can't hurt. Thank you guys so much. It's been a great off season. Let's make it another great regular season, and hopefully one that has a better ending this time. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all so much for joining me on this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. Reminder, we will have the Red Friday Q&A live chat this Friday, 4 p.m. Central Time. Bring your questions. Let's chat for the last time. There obviously will not be a Red Friday Q&A live chat next Friday because the Chiefs are playing that day, but we will have a pregame live chat 4 hours before the Chiefs and Chargers get underway. So be on the lookout for all of that. And I'll have the official times of podcast start times and whatnot as we get closer. It'll be this weekend. So if I don't talk to you guys until next week, have a great Labor Day weekend. Stay safe, grill some food, have some fun. For all of you working, I've been there before on holidays. It's not fun. So props to you guys keeping things going in our world, keeping those wheels turning, being the cogs that turn everything in our society. I'm Farzin Vasugi, and I am out. I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.